Hi everybody, it's Jenny from Lemon Balm Massage and Wellness, and today I am making this video to talk to you about healing from the inside out, deeper healing. So it's great to get a massage, right? But sometimes we need to heal things that are inside of us so that our external parts, our muscles and our ligaments and other parts can heal. And I've seen this on my table and I've seen this in my personal life, and that's what I'm sharing today. So the story I have to share is about how journaling helps me heal. And so the quick story is that last weekend I went to the mall with my daughter, and while I was there, I got talked into buying a skincare product from one of those center kiosks, only to find out later that I had been lied to and scammed. And I was really upset about this. I was so upset because there were several things that in that process of going through that experience that didn't feel like me. I don't usually get talked into buying things like that. And I had to, and it made me really upset because it felt out of sync with who I am to get talked into buying something like that. And so I had to sit down afterwards because I was so upset. I was crying, and we had tried to return the product and gotten kind of a runaround. Anyway, it's a long story that we don't have to go into the details of. If you've ever been scammed, you know how you feel about that. But there was a bigger question, right? Like, how did this happen to me when this doesn't usually happen? And my husband is so funny. He's like, well, sometimes the holes in the Swiss cheese all line up just right. So the hole right through the middle, right? Stuff gets through. And I was like, yeah, but I feel like there's something more to this, right? And I was just so upset. And so I took a moment to sit down and journal everything that happened. I wrote down what people had said, what I had said. I wrote down the thoughts I had while this was going on. Thoughts I had, like it was a skincare product that I bought. And so I know someone with a medical spa that I know I've known for years and would totally trust to provide me with a good skincare recommendation. And I thought of them while I was in this process. It was kind of like, well, I could buy from them instead of from this stranger at a kiosk with product I don't even know. I also thought of two ladies I know that sell different skincare systems that are trustworthy, have been around for a long time, that I've heard of, that are really good. They have a lot of good history and not references, but you know what I mean, like people speak really highly of them that I trust. And so both of those crossed my brain. And then one of the last thoughts that crossed my brain was that I never make purchases like this without speaking to my husband. We have a rule where we don't purchase over a certain amount without talking about it first. And it's a safety net, right? So that when you get into these exact situations, you have a way to say, I can't, I have to talk to this other person. And I got talked through that, right? And it blew my mind. That was why I was so upset. I was upset with myself because I didn't know how I wanted to know. I didn't know how I had gotten to this place, and I wanted to understand how I could be talked into buying something that I would never do. And so I journaled, right? Just like I said, I journaled what's said, what was thought, what I did. And then when that was all out, one, it was great. So because all the emotion, most of my life since I've been about 12 years old, I have journaled, but it was usually cathartic, like I'm so mad at so-and-so, or I'm really happy, or it was always an emotional, cathartic kind of journal to write things down, especially when I was upset. And 2 years ago, I took a class from Shelley at Emotional Decluttering, and she is fantastic. And she taught me this process of journaling. And after she taught it to me, I realized that it was something I had been doing my whole life since I started journaling, that I would write down all of these emotional things. And then when she calls it garbage, you take out the garbage, but when all of that was cleared away, it left space for me to see the truth. And the truth of last weekend, when I purchased that, after I cleared that all away, and I was like, Heavenly Father, what happened? The answer I got is that I didn't trust myself. I've grown a lot in the last couple of years in being able to trust myself, but I still didn't trust myself. I had allowed myself to be stuck in that seat and not say every one of those thoughts that I shared with you that came to my mind, or to just be okay with getting up and leaving, even if it caused a little bit of a scene or it made this person upset. It was a big moment for me to go, oh, I thought I knew and trusted myself better than that. So it was a remarkable lesson, right? And it was also a remarkable lesson because after I had written those all down and been taught and had the realization of what the truth was inside of myself, the upset and feelings and discomfort of all of that quickly dissipated. And I was left with peace because I can do something about myself trusting me, right? The next time I am in a situation like that, I have every belief that I will recall and remember this experience because it was a potent one, and be able to remember that and go, you know what, I am going to listen to that little voice because it's right. The one in my head that is helping me remember things, the ones that's giving me words to say, I'm going to listen to that voice because that's me being true to myself. And being true to who you are is 100% a part of healing. I have worked in my work with a lot of people who are disassociated from their bodies. And there's a lot of reasons we do that, right? If you're in pain, it's easier to disassociate to deal with the pain. Or if you don't like the way you look, or which is another kind of pain, right? If there's anything that you're unhappy about with your body, you tend to disassociate from it and say things like your body's stupid, or my arm's just being stupid, my shoulder's just being stupid. And that is a way of doing that. But when we're disassociated from that, we can't be whole. And healing is wholeness, being whole, accepting a part of ourselves that may not be working the way that we want to right now, but that we can still love and nurture. And there's a lot to say on that about the body and working through pain and injuries. And we will get into that another time. I just wanted to talk about this tool of journaling and what a significant difference it had on my emotional health. Because when I get stressed like that, an old injury of mine pops up. And I have a tendency for my hip to go out when I get really stressed or upset about something. And that was the train track I was on. And I was able to derail that train track of, oh, my hip is out, by journaling out what had happened, getting the emotion, all the negative emotion out, being able to set that aside because it was out of my mind and out of my heart, and see the truth for what it was. And with that truth, recognize an action that I could take that would be different, that would change the outcome next time. And so that's my thoughts for you today on my experience and on healing. That journaling out feelings to deal with something and then set them aside so that we can see the underlying truth of what's actually the issue is really powerful. And again, I am not a psychologist, I am not a doctor, and I'm not here to give you medical advice. This is simply my experience that I had and how powerful it's been through my whole life. I could see that pattern when I would get upset about something or upset at someone, that I would write out all these feelings, and inevitably there would be a point where it switched and I could suddenly see what had happened from that other person's perspective and understand why they would have responded the way they did, and maybe get an idea of a better way to communicate with them. Or I would get a better idea when something hadn't gone the way I wanted and I had written out why I was so upset about it. The idea would come afterwards for how to deal with it differently the next time it came around, or maybe a better question to ask. And there's so many answers you can get. There's so many, right? And some of them are as simple and hard as needing to forgive someone. That was also part of this process, was I realized I needed to forgive the salesperson. I needed to forgive myself even for being in this situation. There are a lot of lessons that I have learned just in the short time since, in the week since this has happened. And I wanted to share this. So that journaling is really powerful. in my life. And if you would like more information about that, I encourage you to seek out Shelly. She is amazing. She's an emotional coach. She's helped me with, I went to her when I felt really stuck in my business. I talked about this before when I had injured my body and I knew I needed to heal in a different way. And Shelly was part of the answer to those problems and troubles I was struggling with. And I'm so grateful for her. She's fantastic. So I would highly recommend her. And those are my thoughts about journaling and how powerful it can be in helping us. For me, it was almost like instant healing, right? I got to write down and then set those aside. And within the space of 2 hours, an hour of journaling and then an hour of quiet contemplation that followed that, because I was upset. So my family gave me a little space to go, oh. And now I can look back at it and laugh. It's been a week, right? It's only been a week, and I can laugh about what happened because I got totally taken in. But I know that it won't happen again because I will have this memory to help me. And I know that I can trust those voices that give me ideas and words to say. So that's my thoughts. I hope that you have a fantastic weekend and enjoy your family or whoever else you're with. And we'll talk to you again another time about healing. Bye.